Today I'm going to show you how to make this amazing, sweet yet pleasantly tart strawberry rhubarb pie. Right now strawberries and rhubarb are in full season, so why wouldn't you want to make one of these beauties for your family? I'm going to show you the entire process from start to finish, from the flaky melt-in-your-mouth crust to the luscious fruit filling. Making a fruit pie from scratch like this isn't difficult to do, guys, and you can do it. So sit back, relax, and let's make an amazing strawberry rhubarb pie. We're going to start by making the pie crust. So here I have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour and a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to whisk this together so it's nice and combined. And right here I have 1/2 cup of butter and 1/2 cup of lard. You can see that I cut them into pieces. I pop them in the freezer for about 10 minutes or so to chill, but you don't have to have them freezing cold. You want them just a little bit firm. Right here I have a pastry blender and I'm going to use that to kind of cut the butter and lard in. And if you don't have one of these, you can also do it with 2 knives. And we're looking for a mixture that kind of resembles coarse oats, but even more coarse. I don't want this to be too evenly textured. I want there to be some large chunks of butter and some small chunks. That's going to give us a much flakier pastry than if we overcut it. Now right here I have 1/2 cup of ice water, or 8 tablespoons. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, and this is going to help make our pastry more tender and flaky. I'm going to start sprinkling that in about half at a time. And you want to add as little water as possible to bring this together into a dough. You might end up needing more water or even less water. It really depends on the hydration of your flour. The best way to really feel if you need more water is by getting in there with your hands. And you just want to kind of try and bring everything together. If it doesn't come together with your hand, then you're definitely going to know you need more water. I have a little bit left here, so I'm going to just maybe add the rest of it. And that might be all we need. Looking at this, it looks pretty dry still, kind of on the bottom, but I'm going to accept that. I know that the more we work this, the more it's going to form into the dough. Now I'm going to show you a little trick to getting a very flaky pastry. I'm going to gather this massive dough right in the bottom of the bowl and cut it in half. I'm going to take that and stack it on top of the other. I'm going to kind of press it down again and do that again. I'm going to do this a few times, and the more I do it, the more the dough develops and comes together. So that's why you don't want to make your dough too wet right away. I'm just going to do this a couple more times for a total of about 4 to 6 times. And I really like doing it in this bowl because it has a nice flat bottom. So if you have a bowl like that, you'll find it'll come in handy for this. And you can see that the dough has completely come together. There might be a few tiny little dry bits in there, but they're mostly going to absorb right into the dough. All that stacking and layering of the dough kind of mixed it together for us. Now I'm going to wrap this in plastic. You also want to kind of pack it down because that's going to help it hydrate better. And now we want to refrigerate this for a minimum of 2 hours. Once you know your dough is chilled enough and ready to roll, now you can preheat your oven to 400 Fahrenheit and we can start making the filling. I'm going to start with 1 egg, and I'm just going to whisk that really well. Once it's nice and smooth, take out about a tablespoon and save it. We're going to brush this on the pie later. To that, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of cornstarch, 1 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a couple of teaspoons of vanilla, which I'm just going to measure with my heart. I'm going to mix this together really well. And all that sugar and cinnamon is going to go so beautifully with the vanilla. Now right here I have 4 cups of diced rhubarb, and here's how big they should be cut. I'm going to add that all in. And right here I have 2 cups of strawberries, which I've quartered. I'm going to add those in too. And now we're just going to mix this all together. We want to coat all those strawberries and rhubarb with that nice sugar mixture. So once it's all thoroughly mixed like this, now we can start rolling out our pie dough. So I'm just gonna unwrap it. And this was actually in the freezer for the last hour because I wanted to speed things up and it worked really well. This dough is nice and firm. I'm gonna divide it in half and I always like for one half to be slightly bigger than the other half. Not by very much. This one might be slightly bigger than this one. I'm going to use it for the bottom crust. I'm going to cover the other half with plastic for now so it doesn't dry out. I'm going to sprinkle a little flour down both on the board and on the dough. I'm going to kind of form it into a circle and now start rolling it out. If you find that your rolling pin is still sticking a bit, you can be pretty generous with the flour. I'm looking for a nice diameter that's a little bit larger than my pie plate, which is going to be 9 inches. And we're aiming for a fairly even circle, if you can. So just keep moving the dough around wherever it's too long or too short. And you can also kind of reshape it as you go if you find that it's not making a circular shape. And then you just kind of continue. Try to go for a thickness of about 1/8 of an inch. So right here I have my pie plate, and you usually just want to kind of place it on top so you can see how much larger you have to go if necessary. I think we're pretty good here. I'm gonna roll this onto the rolling pin, get my plate, and just place it right on top. And we're just gonna kind of even it out, slide it around however you need to make it all even. And now you want to just kind of press the pastry onto the plate so that it conforms nicely. Have that nice corner. Now I'm going to take my beautiful strawberry rhubarb filling and generously fill this. Try not to get any on the rim of the pie because that might make sealing it a bit difficult. Wow, that's going to be a pie. I'm just going to kind of even things out a bit here. Now I'm going to dot this with little pieces of butter. I have here about a tablespoon of butter, and I'm just breaking it into little pieces and putting them here and there. It's going to add a little richness to the sauce. I want a nice even distribution. Now I'm going to roll out that second piece of dough for the top crust. But before I put it on, I'm just going to kind of wet the edge of the bottom crust so it seals well. Now I'm just going to roll it right on top. So just kind of align it again like you did with the first one. Now I'm going to press the edge down very firmly so the crust seals. Now this little bit of excess pastry, you can either trim it off, but I usually just like to tuck it underneath, going all the way around the pie. Of course, if you have really big pieces, you can trim those off, but you don't really have to. Rolling downwards like this will also help to further seal it. Now I'm going to make a little fluted edge just by kind of twisting it like this. It's just really easy to do, just kind of twisting it to get this nice fluted edge. Now I'm going to take that egg that we reserved from earlier and brush it all over. You may want to add a little bit of water to this just to extend it, but I think we have enough for this pie today. You want to get it all on the crust too. This is going to help our pie get really nice and brown. One totally optional thing you can do is take a couple teaspoons of turbinado sugar or any sugar and sprinkle it over the top. I really like that little sweet crunch that adds. Now with a sharp paring knife, you'll want to do a couple of little steam vents on the top. I always, for this type of pie, I tend to do these 4 little gashes like that. Now one thing I like to do before baking it is pop it in the freezer for about 15 minutes. That step is kind of optional if your dough is still nice and cold. It's always better to bake it very cold. So I'm going to go do that. Bake it at 400 for 20 minutes, then reduce your oven to 375 and bake another 25 to 30 minutes. It should have this beautiful golden brown crust and the filling should be bubbling in the middle. Those are usually the hallmarks of a fully baked fruit pie like this one. You might be really tempted to cut into it now, but I wouldn't recommend it. Let it cool for at least 3 hours because the filling needs time to congeal. If you cut a piece of it right now, it would all just flood. It'd be really difficult to serve it properly. So after almost 3 very long hours, I think I'm ready to dive into this one. This is always the best part of the video, showing you the finished result. You can see here that the texture of the inside of this pie is perfect. It's neither too firm nor too runny. Though I will confess this pie could have used another 30 to 45 minutes of cooling. But I just can't resist when I have a freshly baked pie sitting on my counter. That's why that filling might look a little saucy right now. But believe me, everything else about this pie is pretty much flawless. That filling is a perfect balance of sweet strawberries and tangy rhubarb. It comes out perfectly cooked with all the visible pieces of the fruit, and it's not mushy at all. I have to say that strawberry and rhubarb is probably one of the best combinations out there for pies. And you're just gonna fall in love with the crust. That butter and lard combination gives it such a good balance of flavor and melt in your mouth flakiness. I don't make my pies any other way. So go give this one a try, and if you do, let me know in the comments how it turned out for you. And for another really amazing strawberry recipe, you have to try my no-turn strawberry ice cream.